the most common answer you hear from people is, I just can't vote for him. And I don't think that's a good enough reason. You don't have to go to dinner with him. You just have to like the country that you live in.
Like the country that you live in? They can't have that, not in the United States of America. Not as long as the Democrats are in charge. Don't you know who they're waging war against? Oh, everybody. Pretty much everybody, all right? How many wars were there going on when Donald Trump was in the White House? How many wars are going on now? Bum, 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 bum. I fought authority. Authority always wins. Well, the news media is doing their part to get their shoulder behind Kamala Harris with 4 days left until Election Day. Only 4 days. But our news media, they're doing their part. And Mark Cuban having an amazing moment. J.D. Vance doing an interview with Joe Rogan on his podcast, his world-famous podcast. And J.D. Vance, some pretty remarkable stuff, I've got to say, that took place during this 3-hour interview, which Kamala Harris couldn't do. Joe Rogan invited her to come on his podcast, too. This is a guy who supported Bernie Sanders, I think, 2 election cycles ago. And now he's, coming to his senses. I don't want to leap to any rash conclusions, but remarkable stuff going on in the American political universe. And our news media couldn't possibly be more corrupt. CNN today is going after President Trump, hammer and sickle, hammer and tongue. It is a very corrupt organization, my alma mater of CNN. Just amazing stuff. But the headline that CNN has today, and they have Abilio Acosta up there. They've got Jim Acosta. He's ashamed of his heritage, so he goes by Jim instead of his real name, Abilio. But their lower third graphic, their graphic on the bottom of the screen, Trump, they love their colons, don't they? Liz Cheney should be shot. Listen to this, should be shot with, and that's not in quotation marks, then in quotation marks, quote, guns trained on her face, end quote. Now, that's not what Trump didn't say. Liz Cheney should be shot with guns trained on her face. Not what he said, but it's what CNN is peddling because they're a gang of pimps. Well, some of them are pimps and some of them are hoes. You got to cover both sides of the coin there. So we got that going. And I'll get to that in a little bit because the smears, the slanders, all of the madness, completely crazy. But I want to get to J.D. Vance on with Joe Rogan on his great and amazing podcast because a lot of good stuff was said there. And the phony baloney media making a lot of hay out of something that was said there. But by doing the same thing, they take only a fragment of the sentence, a fraction of the sentence, and then they attack you for what you didn't say because they butcher and mischaracterize what you did say, and then they attack you for what you didn't say. Pretty amazing stuff. So let me go to, here's my cut sheet. It's right over here. Where does that J.D. Vance hang? I'm going to flip through. It starts at number 10, Michael tells me. That's great. That's going to be on page 3. There it is now, J.D. Vance and Joe Rogan. Now, pretty amazing stuff. There was good. J.D. Vance is a fun guy. He's a good guy. You know all about him. He comes from humble beginnings, and blah, blah, blah. And the Democrats always love to claim that, Oh, poor Barack Obama. He was abandoned by his father, and then he was abandoned by his mother, and then he was abandoned by his stepfather. That's because he was such an annoying little runt. But his very nice grandparents raised him and sent him to the Punahou School, the most exclusive private school in the state of Hawaii, and it's Hawaii. So come on. Then the Ivy League, then right to the state Senate, then the U.S. Senate, and he never had accomplished anything. He was with the Choom Gang, I guess, and those are his humble beginnings. And Hillary Clinton, yada, yada, yada. But let's go back to J.D. Vance. Soundbite number 10, because there was some funny stuff. J.D. Vance talking to Joe Rogan on his world-famous podcast, and they're talking about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, the son of the president, the crackhead, the stripper, knocker-upper, denier of paternity, Russian hooker, Dayton, international business tycoon with millions flowing in from China and Ukraine and Russia and elsewhere. And no big deal. That's no big deal. But funny stuff back and forth with J.D. Vance and Joe Rogan yesterday.
I want to go hang out with Hunter Biden. I mean, I may be the only Republican. That dude.
He was like Hunter
knows how
S.
to have a
Thompson
good
without
time.
the writing talent. That guy went hard. You got to give it to him.
I would bet $100 that Hunter Biden is voting for Donald Trump for president.
It doesn't seem like he likes his dad. It seems like
I
he
think
wanted...
his dad. I might bet $20 on his dad voting for Donald Trump for president, especially last night after the garbage comment.
Oh yeah.
That guy is trying to help Donald Trump. We're going to win. I think we're going to win. But after we win, I'm going to be convinced that Joe Biden was trying to help us the whole time.
Wow, that is pretty great stuff. I've got to say, that's pretty amazing stuff. And J.D. Vance, and again, he's sitting there, he's real relaxed, and the Joe Rogan style is very relaxed and casual and personal and informal. And there's not a lot of, like the Democrats like to get the questions in advance. And Joe Rogan invited Kamala to come and do an interview, and he invited President Trump to come do an interview. President Trump came and he sat for 3 hours, and they had a great time, and it was a lot of fun, and a lot of news was made, and it was all positive and good. And Kamala was invited, and they said, no, we will not. He's Joe Rogan out of Austin, Texas, and his studios are there and all this stuff. And Kamala said, no, you will come to me, and we will do 1 hour, not 3 hours. There will be no 3 hours. And she's got a riding crop and wearing black knee boots and kind of weird stuff, and said, no, you will come to me, and we will do. And said, well, no, it's really not how this works. We can't move ABC News headquarters to you, but never mind that. But in any case, J.D. Vance, very funny, yucking it up with Joe Rogan, very relaxed, very free-form and free-flowing. Same was true with the President Trump interview. But Kamala can't do that. She can't do free-form. She can't do free-flowing. She expects to get the questions in advance and to have the answers on 3x5 index cards folded in her hand, so she can glance down at them and give whatever the idiot talking point is about her middle-class upbringing and her next-door neighbors with their green lawns when she was a kid. And she can't do freeform. And J.D. Vance is doing shtick, funny stuff. I bet $100 that Hunter Biden is voting for Donald Trump. That's funny stuff. And I bet $20 that Joe Biden's voting for Trump, because everything he's doing is helping Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and not helping Kamala Harris. I mean, again, Kamala Harris had her rally on the Mall the other day where police were assaulted, and there was some at least shoving, if not punching, between the pro-Palestinian Democrat Party and the just shut up and listen part of the Democrat Party on the ellipse the other day, and the sirens going in the background because the pro-Hamas people wanted the sirens blaring to disrupt her. They're all radical, and every time Kamala holds a rally, she's disrupted and heckled by her own supporters because, they're all, they've got mental problems and gender problems and all this stuff. But never mind that. So J.D. Vance, yes, I bet $100 that Hunter Biden's voting for Trump. I'll bet $20 that Joe Biden is voting for Trump. But saying I want to hang out with Hunter Biden, and Joe Rogan says he's like Hunter S. Thompson, famous whiskey guzzling, druggy writer, Hunter S. Thompson. And he says like Hunter S. Thompson without the writing talent. And they're laughing it up and having fun. Democrats can't do that. They don't do that. They just want to loot your neighborhood and burn police cars because they're insane. So, and this has got this next one, number 11, Michael D. This has got the left very upset because Joe Rogan asked him, where were you? What was going on when Donald Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania? Where were you? What did you do when that happened?
He grabs his ear, and then he goes down. And I'm like, oh, my God, they just killed him. And I was first I was so pissed. But then I go into, fight or flight mode with my kids. I'm like, all right, kids, we were at a mini golf place in Cincinnati, Ohio. I grab my kids up, throw them in the car, go home and load all my guns. An AR-15 from 140 yards away is a
Chip
pot shot.
Even without a scope. He didn't have a scope, right?
I don't believe he had a scope.
But
I
even
think he
without
had a scope.
Without a scope. I mean,
Yeah.
I've shot an M16 many times and an AR-15
Jasmine,
without a scope.
did he have a scope?
There is no. It is shocking that he's alive. The whole thing is very fishy to me, and I hope that we win and then get to the bottom of it.
I hope that we win and then get to the bottom of it, because this administration, this Justice Department, this FBI, they're not getting to the bottom of it because, they're, we had an FBI story the other day interfering in our election, in the presidential election. The FBI is not what it used to be. Ephraim Zimbalist is dead and spinning in his grave. Sorry, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. Wah, wah, wah. J. Edgar Hoover is spinning in his grave, too, but that's another discussion. Wah, wah. So J.D. Vance, they're talking about Democrats, and they describe masculinity as toxic, the Democrats do. They don't like masculinity. They're against it, and they're good at veering away from it themselves. J.D. Vance had something to say about all that.
Have you seen all these studies that basically connect testosterone levels in young men with conservative politics?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's what's going on.
Well, there's a certain amount
Maybe that's
of
why the Democrats want us all to be, poor health and overweight, is because that means they're going to be it means we're going to be more liberal, right? If you make people less healthy, they apparently become more politically liberal.
Right. Less healthy, less masculine, lower testosterone levels. Where it's almost impossible to find enough fit young men to join the military, the U.S. military, to keep the world safe for freedom-loving people, because the Democrats are raising a lot of young males, but not to be men. Know what I'm talking about? Wah, wah, wah. And low testosterone levels. I had not seen those studies until I saw that. It's pretty funny. And here's the one that really got him in trouble, that's really got the Democrats and the media going crazy. He said that he thinks Trump will win the gay vote, right? The gay men, but the normal gay men, not the crazy left-wing lunatic Democrat gay men who want to make every little boy into a little girl and give female hormones to young men and testosterone to young women, but the gay guys who are just regular Republicans, like, people that we work with here at the radio station, people that we know outside of the radio station, who are gay and conservative and are going to vote for Trump and have Trump flags on, and things like that. J.D. Vance.
Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if me and Trump won just the normal gay guy vote, because again, they just wanted to be left the hell alone, and now you have all this crazy stuff on top of it that they're like, well, no, we didn't want to give pharmaceutical products to 9-year-olds who are transitioning their genders. We just wanted to be left the hell alone.
Right, and that's all perfectly normal. And what I know to be the case in Washington D.C. and beyond, and honestly, that's got them going crazy. Now they're really going bat guano over here because they demand that everyone march in lockstep with their political agenda, and if you don't, then you will pay the price because they're, what's the word, Michael? Fascists, dirty Nazi Hitler fascist types, totalitarian, authoritarian, all that. Ain't that wacky? So we've got that great stuff, and there was a lot more from J.D. Vance. It was a 3-hour interview, so as you might imagine, great stuff. You know that the fate of America's children may be tied to our own fate. I like to think so. Much like abortionists put an end to the lives of the unborn, the left seems determined to snuff out everything else, and Preborn, a great organization, Preborn, stands as a beacon of hope in this crazy world. For the most defenseless among us, preborn babies, unborn babies, every day, Preborn's network of clinics helps to rescue, on average, more than 200 unborn babies every day, while surrounding expectant mothers with love and with God, offering a free ultrasound. because a pregnant mother witnessing the miracle of life by way of an ultrasound has never been more crucial as we navigate in this time of terrible moral decline. Will you please join Preborn in helping to protect at least, the least capable among us, the most vulnerable among us? For just $28, you can sponsor an ultrasound and give a mother the chance to choose life, not only for her baby, but for herself. An ultrasound can double a baby's chance of living a long, happy, and prosperous life. To donate securely, all you have to do is dial pound 250. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Pound 250 keyword baby. Or you can go online to preborn.com/plant. That's preborn.com/PLANTE. Preborn.com/plant. Yes, sir. J.D. Vance, great job with Joe Rogan yesterday. A lot of fun, and naturally he's just being attacked for it by a corrupt news media, which is their role in our society. For the left, the international left, the Democrat Party.
I grab my kids up, throw them in the car, go home and load all my guns.
All right, I've got President Trump coming up. One of the headlines is that Liz Cheney should be shot in the face by 9 guns in sickening fantasy. Trump says, no, that's not what happened. CNN has Trump wants Cheney shot, and we'll play it for you as it comes up. Wah, wah, wah. I'm looking at going at the phones, but the clock is ticking out loud, and I don't want to just give you 45 seconds to talk, so I'm gonna put on hold going to the phones. But we are at 888-630-9625. Yeah, and the headline, and this is even the Express. Here it is. Trump says Liz Cheney should be, quote, shot in the face, end quote, by 9 guns in sickening fantasy. Now, I'm going to play for you what Donald Trump said, because I think that you'll find that the news media shouldn't be trusted at all, ever, given what they've become. Womp, womp. And CNN's headline, Liz Cheney slams dictator Trump after he calls for her to be shot. Does he call for her to be shot? I've got that. Womp, womp. And CNN's headline, Trump on Liz Cheney, colon, let's put her with a rifle standing there. I've got this stuff. Liz Cheney should be shot. That's the CNN headline. Liz Cheney should be shot with guns trained on her face. Wait till you hear what he really said.
Is it weird for you to see Liz Cheney, that'd be Dick Cheney's repulsive little daughter, running against you with Kamala Harris?
Well, I think it hurts Kamala a lot, actually.
Ah, yes, that was President Trump, little technical hiccup there. President Trump talking to Tucker Carlson. And how long was that interview? Because Kamala doesn't really do interviews, but she certainly doesn't do long interviews and unscripted interviews. She's not good at anything when you boil it right down. But President Trump talking to Tucker Carlson at Glendale, Arizona. Is that where it was? Glendale, Arizona yesterday. And a big, long interview up on stage with people in front of them. And Kamala doesn't do any of this. She just hides out in the news media, is her campaign. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? All right, I've got a great deal to get to. And let's go to the telephones, because I mentioned that just a little while ago. Let's go to Hugh, calling from Germantown, Maryland, where there aren't a lot of Germans these days. Hugh, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Well, Chris, good morning. I just wanted to make a quick comment on what is happening with voting in Pennsylvania. By way of background, as you may have guessed, I'm probably a naturalized citizen or from a small valley in West Virginia, but actually a naturalized citizen. I'm also a veteran British Army, U.S. Army, and a DOD employee. So I registered to vote when I became a citizen. I didn't specify a party. So in Pennsylvania, I was automatically flipped to become a Democrat. And I have used the mail-in voting system on a regular basis and never had a problem, except this year the system seems to be breaking down because I asked my mail-in vote some weeks ago. I still don't have it. So I will be going up to vote in person. And I don't think there are shenanigans simply because I am registered as a Democrat. I think, as I say, in the past, nobody used it, the mail-in system, except for the military and Democrats. So now I just think it's collapsing. But what I think is fascinating is I stay registered as a Democrat. Well, at least it's fascinating to me, simply because during the Tea Party time, I found that if you were registered and identified as a member of Der Partei, then the Geheimstaatspolizei, Gestapo for those who don't know, otherwise known as the FBI and IRS in the US, they don't investigate you if you're a Partei member or a Partei supporter. So I'd just like to conclude by saying my observation, sadly for those two organizations, they're the same bunch of buggers who put my father in a camp in Germany 80 years ago. They just have different accents. But yeah, voting in Pennsylvania, very strange.
Wow, very good stuff. Very good. That's great. And you're a Brit, and you served in the British Army, and you served in the U.S. Army.
Yeah, I would say for many of us legal immigrants, and I found in the Army one or two decent illegals who actually did come for the American dream, 9/11 was a choose-up sides moment for us. So we joined to fight. We didn't join for benefits. We joined to, as they say, kick ass and take names. And do unto those who would do unto us. And I would just close my comments by saying the Democrats have made a huge mistake because immigrants, we don't come for the socialist or Islamic paradise because we've bloody lived it. We don't want it. We've seen it. We know what it means. So they just managed to, I think, kill themselves with a lot of immigrants. And the last thing I would say is, when people talk about immigrant crime, it's illegals.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not people like me.
Well, that's a
they
trick.
Have to roll us into the numbers to come out with the crap that they produce that, immigrants don't generate crime.
Exactly.
Yeah, illegals do.
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. And they convert, again, they take what you've said, they change it until it's not what you've said, and then they attack you for what you didn't say. You say illegal aliens and Venezuelan gang members are committing crimes and raping and murdering and pillaging and causing mayhem everywhere. And then they cite a statistic that says, well, immigrants actually commit crimes at lower levels than native-born Americans who are, Democrats committing crimes everywhere. And that's true. People like you, and I've got great friends from all over the world that have become Americans over time. And it's true that immigrants don't commit crimes. And it's true what you said, come for the American dream and not for free stuff and, for Islamic jihad. But it's extraordinary. And they take what you said, and it's the sleight of hand or the use of language version of sleight of hand to say that immigrants don't commit crimes at higher levels. And that's true, but that's not what we're talking about. And
that's exactly not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're looking at the illegals, and they are the ones who do commit crime. And if I may close with one last anecdote, the unit that I went to war with on America's behalf, many of us were immigrants, including African Muslims. And in our headquarters, we had a small blanked-off area so that our West African Muslim soldiers could pray. But these guys knew exactly what the Islamic paradise would be like.
Right.
So they had signed up to make sure they are not part of it. Because if you look at, we hear the Democrats talking a lot about slavery ending in the U.S. 150 plus years ago. Well, the reality in Africa is who is slaving out of Darfur? That would be the Muslims.
Right.
Who is slaving, we still call it the Red Sea slave trade. And it's the Islamic fundamentalists. But we're not interested in that. We're not interested in the realities of that. That
would just muddy the waters, and the agenda of the left must be paramount. And this is what information dominance is all about. And before your time, I would guess during our involvement in Somalia, in Mogadishu and all that good stuff. The warlord there, who was the chief warlord, was Mohammed Farah Aidid, right? Mohammed Farah Aidid. And the son of Mohammed Farah Aidid during that conflict, who was there, was the son of Mohammed Farah Aidid was a U.S. Marine fighting in Somalia. And an extraordinary story, and a brave young man who became an American. And he was, and again, you just have to know who the bad guys are.
Yeah, indeed. And as I say, I'd close my remarks by saying Semper Fi, not because I was Marine. I kept on joining armies. Bad mistake. My son got it right. He is a U.S. Marine.
No kidding. Is that right?
Yep.
And your father was captured by the Germans in World War II. Is that what you suggested?
Yeah, he was captured by the Germans in World War II, and they put him with other Western prisoners in the details clearing out the bodies from the gas chambers.
Oh.
And I never learned that until I'd had a bad, difficult tour in Africa. I came back and chatted with him. So like you do in Britain, we went down the pub, and he told me, my boy, however bad it is, it could always be worse.
Wow.
And I was floored. And it wasn't until the Holocaust Museum opened up here that it was verified. I really saw that. The interviews with American prisoners who'd been in the same camp, and they had cleared out the bodies. So this business about Nazis, I'm sorry. Whoever's saying Trump is a Nazi, you just made yourself look stupid.
Yeah.
At best.
Only if they're well informed. Only if they're well informed enough. That's difficult if you're a Democrat. It is very, very difficult. It's a high bar to set. Hugh, what a great, great call. Thank you very much. I am saluting you.
Well, I want to say is God bless America. It's the last best hope of the world, and I've seen lots of crappy parts of that world. Thank you.
That is great stuff. Hugh, that's wonderful. What a great call. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. This is what America is all about. It really is. Just extraordinary. Extraordinary stuff. British Army, U.S. Army, son's a U.S. Marine. Got it wrong, kept joining armies around the world, fighting in Africa and doubtless the Middle East as well. Father in World War II and the Germans, the Nazis. My father spent a little time killing Nazis as well in World War II, flying a little one-seat plane and dropping bombs on their heads and shooting them with machine guns and stuff. Makes you a better person. It really does. All right, now, let's see. Where are we? We are, President Trump. It's President Trump being attacked all over the place now because the news media, the most corrupt institution in America. And I just shared with you now, I have these habits, these strange habits, because of what I do for a living. I use my phone, I use my iPad to shoot pictures off of the television screen. And I just shot pictures off the television screen on CNN. And CNN has Abilio Acosta. He's the anchor boy and the lower third, as they call it, the big graphic on the screen. America's Choice 2024. It's their campaign for the Democrats thing. Trump, Liz Cheney should be shot with, quote, guns trained on her face, end quote. Did he really say Liz Cheney should be shot? Did he really say Liz Cheney should be shot with guns trained on her face? Is that what Donald Trump said? Now, Donald Trump, we have the audio. What Donald Trump said. It's a mere 20 seconds. It shouldn't be too hard for the people at CNN to sort through this. But President Trump talking about Liz Cheney. It's President Trump talking to Tucker Carlson in Arizona yesterday. And the question of Liz Cheney, and Tucker Carlson asked the question of Liz Cheney, was like, Liz Cheney, the terrible, awful Liz Cheney. And she is campaigning against you. What is up with that? And President Trump says, well, she's a warmonger, neoconservative, the kind of fake Republican like her father that'll get us involved in unnecessary wars all over the world. Now, that's the tone and the tenor of the back and forth. And it's not even my opinion. I'm not inserting my opinion here, injecting my opinion. But this is what the back and forth sounded like that led to CNN putting up this banner, as they call it, on the lower third of the TV screen. that says Trump, Liz Cheney should be shot in the face with guns trained on her, should be shot with guns trained on her face.
Look, she's a deranged person. But the reason she couldn't stand me is that she always wanted to go to war with people. I don't want to go to war. She wanted to stay in Syria. I took them out. She wanted to stay in Iraq. I took them out. I mean, if it were up to her, we'd be in 50 different countries.
She'd be in 50 different because she's one of these war hawks, you know. She's one of these, and this is a lively and legitimate back and forth in American politics in the United States, and you know, being Globo Cop, the world's policeman, and having the most powerful military in the world, and bad things are happening, and bad guys are out there, and I've said 1,000 times, only the bad guys of the world need fear the wrath of the United States of America. But if the bad guys of the world do not fear the wrath of the United States of America, then the bad guys of the world have nothing to fear. And the bad guys of the world, like the Putins and the Xi Jinpings, when the Saddam Husseins, will ride roughshod over whatever part of the world they can and destroy and kill and enslave. And so the United States does play an important role in the world. There's no doubt about it. And Hugh has been a part of that as well. Now, it went on from there.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
Now, did he say she should be shot in the face with 9 rifles there? Because that's what CNN is fake reporting. That's why the news media is a house of ill repute that has the reputation of a house of ill repute, where monkeypox spreads like wildfire. Just amazing stuff. ABC News headline says, Trump uses violent rhetoric to attack, quote, war hawk, end quote, Liz Cheney. He uses violent rhetoric? Is that what happened there? Just amazing stuff. And most people just read the headline because most people are real busy. New York Times, Trump attacks Liz Cheney using violent war imagery. Well, what he's saying is that these American Republican warmongers and Democrat warmongers who get the United States entangled in pointless, endless wars around the world, that if they never go into the war zone. They don't have a rifle in their hand. J.D. Vance did that, and of course Tim Walz did not, even though he said that he did. And what Donald Trump is doing, talking to Tucker Carlson, is calling out these. You can call them neoconservatives, you can call them whatever you want in Washington D.C. who get us involved in wars. And you say, if their kids were going to war, maybe they wouldn't be so eager. If they themselves were going to war, if they had to stare down the barrel of an enemy rifle, maybe they wouldn't be getting us involved in wars, right? And then the news media turns that into, Trump says Liz Cheney should be shot in the face 9 times. Was the word face even in there? I said, if there are rifles in her face. Yeah. Is raising the question, would she behave differently if the rifles were pointed at her face? Yeah. Right. Our media. I think I'll not keep them. America's strength isn't just built, as you know, it's also worn. For those who, put in the hours to get things done in America, G-Defy shoes. They're made right, and they're made right for you. G-Defy shoes have patented VersaShock technology. G-Defy doesn't just talk comfort, they engineer it, all right? Comfort is engineered. Every step you take, G-Defy shoes help absorb harmful shock and provide trampoline-like energy return. My best girl and I, we've each got a pair of G-Defy shoes. They sent them to us. They're real nice. We hike around the city. And let me tell you something. Your feet feel better when you're done hiking than they do before you start hiking. Designed for hardworking people, for parents, for people who stand tall no matter what. You need to go to G-Defy Shoes and use the code CHRIS. How easy is that? CHRIS. And you're going to get $20 off your order of $100 or more. That's the code CHRIS for $20 off orders of $100 or more, because even champions need to rest from time to time. Go to gdefy.com today. Yeah, so there it is. And you heard what President Trump said, and you heard the essence of his message. And CNN and other media turned that into, Trump says Liz Cheney should be shot in the face 9 times. Not what he said at all. And then Liz Cheney became angry and called him a dictator. That's because the media stirred up the situation. Our media.
You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Now, CNN is lying sack, and President Trump said, they're all war hawks. So maybe he's not just talking about Liz Cheney, but maybe thousands of people in Washington, D.C. who get us into wars. He said, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. And he also said, let's put a rifle in her hand. So it's not like it's a firing squad, and 9 rifles are not a firing squad, usually 7 or maybe 5 for a firing squad. But when he says, let's put a rifle in her hand, that means make her the soldier on the front line. And she might be less inclined to send thousands of troops into the breach if she were going to be one of the soldiers, or if she had children, or maybe nieces and nephews, that would be among the soldiers, President Trump is making a point that's been made 1,000 times over the last 100 years, that these Washington armchair generals, these warmongers, the war hawks, the neocons and beyond, sending people into war, if they had to go to themselves, maybe they wouldn't be so eager. That's the point.